to a short taste of English. And today the subject is laughter yoga. Why laughter yoga? Well, because laughter yoga is one of the many elements that I use in my language teaching. And it helps to make my lessons interesting and dynamic. But more importantly, it helps to make my students more receptive to learning. Let me give you some facts. An average child laughs about 300 or 400, that's 300, 300 or 400 times a day. An average adult laughs about 10, maybe 15 times a day. Okay, it's incredible. So what happens from the time we are children to when we become adults? Something happens to us. We develop, we become more mature, we become more serious, we become more intellectual, more economically and financially independent, and we lose our capacity to laugh spontaneously. We learn that laughing should be, let's say, confined to specific locations, specific situations. We should be aware of what other people think about us, so we must be very careful when we laugh. That's what happens. Is that important? It is important. Why is that important? It's important because laughter increases, first of all, our defense system. Forget about all the aspirins, the pills, the syrup that you take when you are sick. Laughter is the best form of medicine, and it's completely free. Okay? The other thing about laughter is, of course, that it opens up the right side of the brain, making us more creative. What about humor? Humor when we laugh for specific reasons. Now, humor is positive, humor is good. I think I have a good sense of humor. I like laughing, but sometimes I tell a funny story, I tell a joke, and some people do not understand. Now, why don't they understand? The reasons could be the language, could be a language problem, it could be a cultural problem, or it could just be a question of personality, of character. That is the limitation of humor. With laughter yoga, we don't have these limitations. Laughter yoga, we don't speak, we don't use words, so there are no language barriers. There are no cultural barriers. So how do we laugh in laughter yoga? We laugh by gestures, by mimics, by making strange faces, which transcends all kinds of national, cultural barriers. So it's much more effective. What about laughing in groups? Why should we go and do a laughter yoga session when we can sit down on this lovely red sofa and watch a comedy film, a comic actor, a DVD sitting on this sofa and laugh in the complete privacy of my home? Good question. That's a good exercise to do, but why don't you try this exercise? Choose one of your favorite DVD films, comic films preferably, watch it on your own, watch it alone, and the next day watch it again with a large group of your friends. And what's the difference? The difference is that you will laugh much more in your group. That is because laughter is about bonding, okay? It's about group togetherness. If you go to a restaurant, if you go to a pub and you look at a group of people, even a small group, 3-4 people, what are they doing? They're often laughing, giggling, chuckling to each other. And if you listen to what they're saying, very often what they're saying is not even particularly funny, it's just the kind of positive mood that they are in. So it's much easier to laugh in a group than it is individually. And laughter yoga is essentially a group activity. I've used laughter yoga with children, all ages, from about 5 years old upwards, primary school, middle school and high school, in many countries, in Slovenia, in Spain, in Holland. And what I'm most interested in is not how the children behave during the session. As you can imagine, generally they're quite dynamic and quite lively. I'm interested in how the children behave at the end of my session, when they go off to the next lesson, to mathematics, to history, to geography, to biology. How do they behave? If you want to know a bit more about some of the results of that research, I would recommend you read my article, Laughter Yoga in English Language Teaching, which you can find on the Laugh and Learn website under the articles section. But I would have to say the most powerful experience I've had using laughter yoga with children was when I was invited to a school in a town called Treviso, which is in the northeast of Italy, very close to Venice. And I had several groups of high school children to teach using the Laugh and Learn methods, using laughter yoga, etc. And unfortunately, one of these classes had a particular problem. The problem was that in one class, one of the children had died in a tragic accident 1 week before my lesson. Naturally enough, the teacher who had invited me said, "Danny, I invited you here because of your laughter methods. But with that particular class, maybe it would be better to do something a little bit different, because that class will not feel like laughing." And I thought, yeah, she's probably right. So I thought about it for a while, and in the end I decided to go ahead and do exactly the same lesson with this class as I did with the other classes. What was the result? The result was that every single student in this class laughed. The teacher was like this. He couldn't believe it. He hadn't heard any of these students laugh for 1 week. The funeral was 2 days before the lesson, yet I managed to make all these students laugh. And the reason I was able to make them laugh was because of laughter yoga. If I had talked about a funny story, about jokes, about something humorous, where it was necessary to use the intelligences, it wouldn't have worked with this group in their condition. That is an example of how laughter yoga really is very, very powerful. Now, as I said, I use laughter yoga with children, but I've also used laughter yoga with adults. And I use generally at the beginning of a 1 hour, 1.5 hour lesson for about 10 or 15 minutes. What does laughter yoga do to my adult students? They arrive at the lesson, and like most adults, they carry here on their shoulders a lot of problems, family problems, tensions, work problems, stress, traffic, etc. All adults, most adults have these problems when they arrive for my lesson. That's normal. What the laughter yoga does, it helps them to release a lot of these tensions, it helps them to open up their mind, and it helps them to reduce their inhibitions. That's very, very important. So after 10 minutes of laughter yoga, what happens? It happens that I can tell my students to do anything. It doesn't matter what I ask my students to do, they will do it. They will follow my advice, they will follow my suggestions. They don't care, they're not interested, they're not worried about what other people in the group think. So again, laughter yoga is very, very powerful in this sense. Now, if you like this idea of laughter yoga and you're interested in laughter yoga as a kind of therapy, as a way of reducing stress, have a look at the official international laughter yoga website, which is laughteryoga.org. That's laughteryoga.org. And if you're interested in finding a club near where you live, anywhere in the world that you can join and you can practice doing laughter exercises, you will find it there. If you can't find it, contact me and I will help you find it, because for sure it exists, irrespective of where you are in the world. If you're interested in laughter yoga in English teaching, then have a look at my website as usual, the Laugh and Learn website. And of course, have a look at any of the courses that are available which use Laugh and Learn activity. Okay, before I finish, as always, I will leave you with an expression. And the expression today is very simple. It's laughter is the most serious thing that I do. Laughter is the most serious thing that I do.